everyone. So today's video is going to be a foundation first impression and also a concealer first impression because I bought the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Foundation and also the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Creamy Concealer. So we're going to try both of these today. I'm going to do a full wear test. I'm going to check in throughout the day so you guys can see how it wears all day. Just to tell you what I've done to prep my skin, I had a facial done yesterday so I didn't exfoliate this morning. I've just cleansed, toned and moisturized. I used my normal skincare products that I usually use, and for primer we're going to use what I usually use. So all over my face I'm going to use the Too Faced Hangover Primer, but where I've got fine lines, pores and a little bit more texture, I'm going to use the e.l.f. Matte Putty Primer. It's not a pore filling primer, but I find it really helps, and also I'm very oily in this section. This is what my skin's looking like now. What I will do is I'll zoom in. I use natural lighting to film, so you should be able to see the texture of my skin fairly well. Let's improve the sound quality a little bit. So hopefully the sound quality is a little bit better. I've also just put on some like non-copyrighted music in the background just for my own self. This is my skin and how it looks up close. Now obviously I have a lot of freckles. I'm not fussed if my freckles still show through foundation. That does not bother me. My thing is I get a lot of separation around my nose. My pores and my blackheads around this area are a lot better than they used to be. But as you can see, I've got a lot more open pores in this area. I've got a few pores and blackheads here. I have a lot of texture and congestion down here at the moment. My skin went through a bit of a phase because I came off my pill and went back on it. So it's just starting to clear up, but I've got a lot of congestion and dry skin and stuff down there. So we'll see how that clings to it, if it does. But yeah, other than that, my skin's pretty good. And also I've got lots of fine lines on my forehead because I'm very expressionative when I talk. That's after I've primed and everything. Now I'm going to go straight in and I'm going to conceal around my eyebrows. Now I'm going to use this around my eyebrows. So, and then I'll fill them in off of camera just to save time. But we'll see what this is like around my eyebrows together. It's got the same doe foot applicator as the no filter concealer. Oh, this is very dark. I hope my foundation isn't that dark. I'm sure I got a lighter one. Yeah, this is Fair 25 Warm. I'm not gonna be right, I'm probably gonna have to go over with a different concealer because this is gonna be dark compared to my foundation, but that's okay. We will make it work. This feels very creamy. Actually, I think I might have been fake tanned when I bought this. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fake tan all the time. But I can't fake tan all the time because I still get laser and can't have their tanned 2 weeks prior. So I'm just taking this little concealer brush. This is the Crown C509 and I'm just going to use this just to bring that closer down to my brow. I thought that this wasn't going to have a lot of coverage because it's more of a like hydrating concealer, but like one, that's spread really far, and two, like that actually does have a fair bit of coverage. Obviously we'll see what it's like under our eyes. Hopefully I can make this work because I don't know what on earth I was thinking to get light 45 warm. My matte one is light 10, so I'm just going to go over it with my sponge. Anyway, I'm just going to go do my brows, like fill in my brows off of camera, and I'll be right back. My eyebrows are very uneven, so just please ignore that. If I sit like this, it looks fine. But yes, if I sit front on, my eyebrows are very uneven. They grow naturally that way, and if I was to even them out and make them look perfect, I would end up with block eyebrows. If you go back to some of the earlier videos on my channel, you will see that. Anyway, moving right along. So now we're going to dive into the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation. So it's apparently dermatologist tested, oil-free and vegan, and ColourPop's also cruelty-free. It's a hydrating foundation with skin perfecting medium buildable coverage for natural healthy looking skin. It says to prep your skin with a Pretty Fresh primer, use Pretty Fresh blending sponge or brush to apply and blend into the skin. I don't have either of those things, but that's fine. It's also got hyaluronic acid, known to hydrate and support healthy looking skin. Coconut water, known to support hydration and skin softness. So I want to just see, so I'm just reading the ingredients to see where the hyaluronic acid actually sits, because if it's not quite up there in the ingredients, it's not going to do a lot for the skin. So it's got hyaluronate, which is hydrating, however it's not hyaluronic acid. So what they're claiming in this already is that it's got hyaluronic acid in it, which it doesn't. It's got coconut water in it, but it's really far down. So is the hyaluronate. So honestly, it's not going to be as hydrating as it's claiming to be. So I'm a bit upset about that. Like, whatever. I'm not going to be too harsh because we are just going to see how it goes on the skin anyway. So I'm going to apply it the same way I apply most of my foundations these days. I try to be very sanitary nowadays with my foundation application and primer and stuff. I don't like putting the pump directly on my face anymore, so I take a metal palette. Oh, it's very liquidy. So I'm just taking it on the palette like that. And then what I'm going to do is then dip my sponge into it. So dipping my sponge onto the palette like this. I actually think that's a pretty decent match. So I'm just going to do one nice layer all over. I'm also probably not going to be able to use that concealer under my eyes, but that's okay. Because yeah, look at that color difference. I'm definitely not going to be able to use this underneath my eyes, but that's okay. We'll use the other ColourPop one. I might mix the other ColourPop in with this. I think one pump is enough to do your whole face. So I am taking it up underneath my eyes just to see what the coverage is like. Obviously, like, I'm a really good candidate for coverage because I have lots of freckles, so already the coverage is pretty nice. I like how it feels on my skin. I can't actually feel it there, which is nice. It doesn't feel drying. It doesn't feel sticky. Like, you know, sometimes when you talk with foundation on it and it feels really sticky, it doesn't feel like that. So, which is nice. I am just going to take this down my neck, even though it matches me pretty darn well. So this is how my skin is looking with one layer. I think the coverage is pretty good. It's definitely more of a natural foundation, which is fine by me. Like, most of my foundations are pretty full coverage. Like, it's done a really good job at evening my skin tone. Yes, you can still see some of my pigmentation, my freckles. I don't care. I like that. I like being able to see my freckles. Obviously, the concealer and foundation have blended really well together. I managed to make that work even though around my eyebrows was well and truly too dark. But yeah, you can definitely still see my natural skin underneath, which I don't mind. Like, it is a nice, like, already this would be a nice everyday foundation to wear, and it's not very expensive. Let me quickly just Google. So it's $16 for the foundation. Okay, so I'm gonna first take the Pretty Fresh one and I'm just going to apply, because this might do well because it is so dark, at just concealing right underneath there, these dark bits. It's well and truly too dark for my under eyes, but it'll be okay. I'm fake tanned. And then I'm literally just going to take, this is in the shade Light 10. I'm just dotting some of this around. I'm not as big of a fan anymore as like drawing the big triangles under my eyes. I've just like noticed that's not really worth it. So I'm just going to tap that out. I think that's fine once they mix together. That's all good. So I'm just blending that out. And also, you know what? This foundation hasn't really sunk into my expression lines on my forehead, which, like, usually that happens as soon as I blend out my concealer. Okay, I'm going to zoom you guys all the way in so you guys can really get a good indication of what my skin looks like. The coverage is really good. I actually am really happy with it. This is where I've got that texture down here. I've got that texture. It hasn't actually clung to it. Like, it's done pretty well over that area. It's sitting over my pores really nicely. That could also be to do with what I use to prime. But yeah, it's covered up redness nicely. I think the coverage is really nice. It is sinking into those lines just ever so slightly. You can see the coverage on that pimple obviously isn't fantastic, but I don't really care. I would just add concealer over that, which I can do with this. Underneath my eyes look really good. So I'm just going to go and take a couple of photos with flash on, and then I'll come back, set my skin, and we'll take another photo with flash on, just so we can see if there is any bounce back. So let me do that real quick. So there isn't actually a lot of flashback, which I'm pretty impressed with. And also, like, underneath my eyes hasn't really creased even though I've been taking those photos. So I'm pretty impressed so far. So to set underneath my eyes, I'm going to take the Rimmel London Match Perfection. This is the Silky Loose face powder, and this is in the shade 01 Transparent. So I'm just going to take this on this is another crown brush, it doesn't have a name on it. So I'm just going to take this underneath my eyes and on my eyes. Just blend that in nicely. Not a lot of powder, just because I don't want it to look ridiculous. And then just because of the way my creasing works on my forehead, I actually take this powder, just set my forehead like this, and then I just leave it sit there. It's not baking as such, it just packed a lot of powder just to make sure it does set properly, and then I go back in and buff it out. So I'm going to use this powder as well just to set all of my face. So I'm taking my crown brush, S 015 Deluxe Chisel Brush. So I'm literally just taking a small dusting of this all over my face just to set it, but I don't want to lose the nice glow that the foundation has. So literally just like, I'm literally like dabbing in it. It's got about this much powder on it, and then I tap it off back into the thing so it's got this much powder, and then just tap that on and then really buff it. So that's that. Now I'm going to take a couple more photos with flash just to see if the powder is going to affect the amount of flash it has. I won't be using setting spray today just purely so I can see how it lasts, because setting spray can increase the longevity of your makeup. But I am definitely the type of person that loves to spray setting spray because I like that dewy finish. However, my face still has that sheen to it, so I'm quite happy with the choice of product. So now I'm going to just take a couple more photos with flash just so we can see what it looks like, because most people will set their foundation. I do know a lot of people like to do that, so I'm going to go do that and I'll be right back. So there's definitely a little bit of flashback with both the photos, before and after powder. Definitely a lot more after powder. I was expecting that, especially because this is a transparent or translucent powder. I was expecting that, but honestly it's manageable. If you were to bronze, it would look fine. It is currently 9:30, so I'll be back in a few more hours. I'm going to set some alarms so I come back and actually film what they look like. I'm just going to go do the rest of my makeup, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay guys, so I'm back. It's only been on for an hour, but I thought I'd come back to show you guys my makeup and how it looks now that I've bronzed and done everything else. I really like how the foundation is looking. So yeah, I am really enjoying it at the moment. Like I said, it's only been on for an hour, so I'll probably come back maybe after lunchtime and do another check-in. So yeah, that'll be about 4 hours. By the time it gets to about 12:31, that'll be about 3.5, 4 hours. So I'll probably come back around then. But yeah, my skin looks really good now that I've bronzed and contoured and all that stuff. It's not like, it's doing really well. Sometimes I have a lot of problems with foundations in the first like 10 minutes. So I really do enjoy this. I'm enjoying this so far. So yeah, I will see you guys soon for another update. Okay everyone, so sorry if I'm talking quietly. My partner is asleep in the same room, so I'm just trying to let him have a sleep. But this has been on now since 9:30 this morning, so that's, and it's now 2:06, so that's been so it's been on for 4.5 hours, and to be honest, it's still looking pretty good. I would be concerned if it was looking bad by now, but I'll zoom you in so you guys can see. And I'll keep the exposure quite dark, but the only thing that's really starting to happen is it's separating a tiny bit there. Well, it's not even separating, it's just a bit oily in the corners of my nose. I don't look oily anywhere. It looks the same as when I like pretty much applied it, apart from around my nose. It's the only thing that's changed. So yeah, there's not much to update you guys on. The only other thing that I wanted to say that I forgot to say in the video is I read through the ingredients on the concealer, which they actually class it as the Hyaluronic Creamy Concealer. There is no hyaluronate, there is no hyaluronic acid in here. Oh sorry, I lied. There's sodium hyaluronate, which is not hyaluronic acid. So, and it is so far down in the ingredients list that it wouldn't even be hydrating anyway. So yeah, anyway, so far I still do like it. I just disagree with their marketing and what they've called it, but other than that, I think it's great, and I will see you guys soon. But yeah, that's the only thing that's happening, is it's just kind of melting a little bit. It looks a bit oily around here, which I could easily just powder on, and I've got a few smile lines from eating and talking, but that's to be expected. That usually happens, and it's sunk in here just a tiny bit more, but not too much. So I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. This is how it was looking just after I'd done the rest of my makeup. So honestly, the only thing that's changed is here and here, and it hasn't clung to these dry patches anymore. It hasn't faded anywhere, so it looks good. I'm pretty impressed. So I will see you guys in a few more hours to check in again. Okay, so I missed my last check-in because I was doing things and I was like, yep, not important. Also, excuse all of the mess behind me. Like I said, I was doing lots of things and I've had a pretty hectic day. So it's currently 8:20 at night, and my makeup's probably started getting bad for maybe about the past like hour and a half to 2 hours. For the most part, it still looks good. It's wearing off around my chin. I'll zoom you guys in so you guys can see. Oh, it looks way worse on camera than it actually is in real life, but that's okay. I'm pretty sure, is this the side? No, this side is the side where all of my mascara has like flaked off onto this part of my face. It's all melted on the side of my nose, but that's what I expected considering it is a more hydrating foundation. I'm definitely looking very oily around this section, although I'm pretty impressed it hasn't really sunk into pores or anything. My expression lines on my head are like, it's really sunk into that, but I'm sure I could probably just blot over it with my sponge and then powder and it would be fine. My chin, it has definitely worn off, but again, I could probably just blot over it with my sponge and then be all right. I am gonna just powder and do those couple little fix-ups to see if like you're able to do that with this foundation. Also, sorry about the lighting. It is obviously nighttime, so my sponge isn't as damp as it was, so it's struggling a little bit. And I'm just going to attempt, I don't have another brush here, just going to flick off the mascara before I powder. And it's been on for like almost 12 hours. It's been on for 11 hours almost. Yeah, so it's definitely done its time. Like, it looked really good still around like the 6-hour mark. It was starting to really start to melt then. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to try and powder and see what it looks like if I do powder with it this state. So the powder I'm using is the Australis Fresh and Flawless. This is in the shade 002, no, just natural. The reason why I'm using this powder is it'll give me a little bit of coverage. Although this is also going to take away part of my highlighter and stuff like that and bronzer, because it does add coverage. So you know what, that did just a fine job. If I had have like powdered earlier in the day, it would have been fine. But it's definitely sunken in like into my smile lines around my mouth and from eating and stuff, but I'm pretty impressed. I think it's lasted pretty well. I just have issues with them claiming that it's got hyaluronic acid in it when it does not. So yeah, that really annoys me, just because I know the benefits of hyaluronic acid, and everyone and all the companies and stuff are like, oh yeah, it's like in all of our products, which is really good. It would be good if it was in your products and if it was in the top 5 ingredients, because then it would actually be doing something. I'm gonna go take my makeup off and I'm gonna go to bed. I hope you guys did enjoy this first impression. I do recommend the foundation if you're looking for something that's a little bit more dewy and not as full coverage and not as matte, because I really did enjoy wearing it throughout the day, because every time I looked at myself it didn't look like a dry cakey mess. So I did enjoy that. So yeah, that is the end of today's video. If you did enjoy, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, don't forget to follow my social media. I'm so tired, I'm so ready for bed. I'm gonna go to bed. Bye. I wonder what went wrong today, eh? Why do I feel like I linger between the words to say, eh? To say the words to remember.